Welcome to Dental Business RX. Practice success in 30 minutes or less.
Thank you for calling ABC Dental.
The concept of a treatment coordinator, what the position is and what it does, while differing office to office, is at least a familiar idea now to most of the dental industry. I say this because years ago, you mainly found treatment coordinators in orthodontic offices. You didn't really find them so much in GP or other specialty practices, whereas now you find them in a lot of dental practices. So we all have a basic idea of what a treatment coordinator is and what they would do. I'm sure that differs place to place. And we may have an idea of whether we should or should not have one in our practice based upon where we are in the expansion cycle. But let's say we have that treatment coordinator. How do we get them performing at the highest level possible? Well, that's what I want to cover in this week's episode. My name is Jeff Bloomberg, and I'm your host. And to join me in covering this concept and really explaining a lot of it, I have Sabri Bloomberg, our Deputy Chief Operating Officer here at MGE. And if you've listened to the podcast for a while, you've heard Sabri talk before. But to give you an idea, Sabri is the senior technical person here at MGE. If a client needs help, Sabri is the one who is in charge of making sure all of our clients get the help that they need. She's also the most knowledgeable person on the subject. We have her all connected up over here. Sabri, welcome to the show again.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think this is something that's definitely a big needed and wanted for people. So I'm really glad you're here to explain it.
No, thank you. Thank you.
So I guess the first question, and it's going to kind of come off maybe a little bit general here, but so how would you, if you're one of the listeners, how would they take their treatment coordinator and turn them into a high-performing, dare I say, superstar treatment coordinator? Like, what would you tell them to do?
Well, I guess the first thing that I'd want to cover there is what makes them not a superstar.
Okay.
Right? Like what are the things that are going to screw them up?
Okay, interesting take on that.
Yes. So, and it's, even though you, like when you did your intro, you said, like it's a far more familiar subject these days. Lots of people know what a treatment coordinator is. I still find that the concept of treatment coordinator is very different depending on which client I speak to. I mean, it's very standardized here at MGE now. Like a treatment coordinator is a salesperson. Right, we all know that they're responsible for the income of the business. Right?
Yeah, but I've seen offices where they have treatment coordinators scheduling.
Correct, scheduling, being an assistant that helps out. Like I've seen everything, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's very important that the doctor is clear on exactly what is a treatment coordinator and has communicated that properly to the treatment coordinator. Like somebody can't be a superstar if they don't know exactly what they're expected to produce. Okay. Right? So that's where it starts. The treatment coordinator has to understand that treatment coordinator is a term we use in the medical field, in the dental field. We use treatment coordinator because we don't want to say salesperson.
Yeah, it'd be a little bit weird. Talk to my salesperson.
Right.
Okay.
But it's the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's true. It's a nice way of saying salesperson.
It's a really just a nice, as you said, just a nice way of saying salesperson, which means that they are responsible for the income of the organization. Why do we pay salespeople? Well, because they make the money. Mm-hmm. Why do salespeople get paid a lot of money? Well, because it's a high-pressure job.
Sure.
Right? Like you are responsible for the financial solvency of an organization as a salesperson.
Yeah, sales creates the demand for the organization to produce.
Exactly, and creates the income, the money, right? To the bank, like how much money we have. So, first of all, the treatment coordinator has to understand that regardless of all the other things that they do, right, and all the other ways that they're utilized, because sometimes they're utilized as an assistant that sells. Mm-hmm. I've seen a hygienist that sells.
But now, if I can interject there for a second. So let's say, and I know we've done other episodes on this, what does a treatment coordinator do? And I'll put links to those on the episode webpage, because I think we've done I've done a couple solo ones. You've done several with me. Sure. So it's obviously a hot subject.
Yes.
But, okay, so people have different ideas of what a treatment coordinator does. Real briefly, so we're not re-explaining.
Yeah.
What would you expect a treatment coordinator to do? Like, what would be within their wheelhouse and what wouldn't?
You mean like the actions?
More or less.
Okay. So I expect them to present the cases in coordination with the doctor.
Okay.
And I expect them to close those cases. right? I expect them the amount that they're closing, meaning the amount of income that they're bringing in, to be adequate for the organization. So whatever the organization's quota is for the month, if they want to do $300,000 in collections or $100,000 in collections, it is the treatment coordinator that is responsible for that. So not only do they need to be closing cases, they need to be presenting enough to make the target, right?
Now, you just hit on something, if
Yes.
you don't mind, because I love my favorite, the follow-up questions. Always.
Yeah, sure.
Because you have the initial follow-ups are always my favorite, because they kind of open the door to more understanding.
Yes.
So someone could look at that and go,
Yeah.
okay, well, you're telling me I have to close a certain amount per month, blah, 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 but this
Yeah.
is healthcare,
Yes.
right? Well, obviously, we're not telling people to sell things that patients don't need.
Of course not.
Right. But then people can use that as a justification to have low income, if you know what I'm saying. Like, in other words, like, let me
Totally.
illustrate my point
Yeah.
so that even the listeners don't get it wrong. So let's say you say that our quota for this month is to collect $150,000, and
Yeah.
I expect that insurance is going to pay $40.
Yeah, sure.
And we're going to get, whatever, basic copays, another $20.
Yeah.
So what did I say, $150?
Yeah.
So I got to come up with $90 somehow as treatment
Yes.
coordinator. So between the doctor and I as a sales team, doctor has to present treatment with me, diagnose, etc. Well, let's say on the schedule between new patients, patients of record, we don't have that much to even present.
That's a problem.
Well, but so here's my question. So
Yeah.
then, because some people will look at that and it ends right there.
Right.
Oh, well, there's just not enough. What am I going to do? Make treatment up? Like, no, I need to go out, and there's tons of patients in the records already, in the patient base, to get back into the practice to present that treatment to.
Correct. So
Yeah.
when I say they are responsible for the income of the organization, I'm not saying they are responsible for closing the patients that are sitting in front of them. That's part of it.
Sure.
But in order to make money, you need to have three things in place in an organization. The person making the money has to be able to close. The person making the money has to present enough treatment to make the quota. And the organizational pattern that makes sales possible has to be in place, right? Which means that, and when I say organizational pattern has to be in place, I'm talking about the doctor has a role too.
Right, of
Right,
course.
the doctor has to explain the treatment. The doctor has to diagnose the treatment, right? The doctor has to go over the money
Yeah.
with the patient. They don't have to close it, but they at least need to tell them how much the case is going to be. Ballpark. That's the irreducible minimum that I expect.
But our best teams, usually the doctor can close.
Absolutely.
I mean, obviously you get a killer treatment coordinator, they just take the case and close, but the doctor can close too.
Yeah, absolutely. And the doctor must be able to close, because what if the treatment coordinator goes skiing and breaks their legs?
Well, they can still, if they break their mouth, they couldn't.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's just say they're out of the
We've
office
talked
for a
about this
couple of
before.
weeks, right? Like now the place
Because
doesn't-
even a dentist, if he breaks their leg, or he or she breaks their legs, can still work. Break their hands.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
So
okay.
what if the treatment coordinator's absent for a couple of weeks
Got
due
it.
to unfortunate circumstances?
All right.
Right.
They're out of the country.
Yeah. Whatever.
They're incognito.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Okay.
That means that suddenly we're not making money now.
Right.
Like there needs to be somebody who can do it now, and that is the doctor, especially as the owner. You cannot be reliable on the income that you make or the welfare of your business because you don't know how to do a key component
Right.
of that business.
So now, just again, I know I'm asking you a lot of follow-ups here.
Sure.
And I'll keep you, because you're answering a question. I don't want to throw you too much in the weeds here. But so
Yeah.
you brought up a good point. Making sure I have enough treatment to present.
Yes.
So obviously, I'm going to find this most likely on the incomplete treatment. Let's get these patients back in,
Absolutely.
et cetera. But here's the question. Here's
Yes.
the question. Is what's a good rule of thumb? If I'm supposed to close $100,000 in treatment this month, what would be a good rule of thumb? How much should I have to present
So usually what we say is, but you have to present 3 times more than you need
to be safe?
to be safe.
Got it.
Right? So that means that takes a little bit of foresight to make sure that every day has enough to close on it.
So let's map this out. Let's say
Yeah.
we're working 20 days this month,
Yeah.
long month, and I'm supposed to close 100.
Yeah.
So I got to close 5,000 a day. We're
Yeah.
going to present an average of 15 a day.
That's correct. So you need to make sure that on the schedule, there's probably a little bit more than that every day. There's probably about $20,000 to present every day on the schedule between hygiene patients with outstanding treatment plans, new patients, just calculate your new patient average,
Sure.
and other consults that the treatment coordinator has brought back from the incomplete treatment list.
So the idea is
Right.
that if there isn't there, I'm supposed to get those patients back in so that they are there.
Correct.
Got it.
And, that's a coordinated effort between the scheduler and the treatment coordinator. But the treatment coordinator certainly can't say, I don't have enough to sell today because the schedule looks the way it looks, right? It's like they are responsible for this. And so I usually like having a little bit more on the schedule than they actually need to present because, patients get the flu and things like that, schedule changes. So you just want to build in a little bit of a margin for error. So if I want to close $5,000 a day, I need to make sure that I have $20,000 in potential sales on the schedule every day.
Or at least 15. Based on the 3, right?
Well, I want to present 15, but if I'm looking at tomorrow's
because I may
schedule,
not present all. Okay.
Yeah, if I'm looking at the schedule tomorrow, the day after, and this is the foresight part of the job, right? If I'm looking at upcoming days, which I should be doing if I'm the treatment coordinator, I'm seeing, okay, how much do I have to present here? I want about 20 because I know I'm going to lose about 5,000 on patients that don't show up.
Interesting. Okay, so as a basic formula, this is something somebody could just walk away with right now and think with. If I have to close 5,000 a day, I want 20,000 a day on tomorrow's the day after schedule, which obviously with new patients I'm not going to know.
No, but you
I
have
could
an
average. But again, I don't want to depend on them.
Yeah.
So I'm going to want 20 a day so that I can minimally present 15 because I may end up with some no-shows.
Right.
Okay, good formula. And then I should at least close 5. Now, if I'm a better closer, I'm probably going to close more than 5.
Probably.
But I'm doing this as a margin of error thing.
You know what? These are averages, so you can see in your own practice what a closing percentage do I actually have.
Sure.
Right? And worst case scenario, you end up closing more than you thought you were going to.
That's terrible.
Yeah, that's awful. Yeah. Right? Everybody's going to be real upset about that one. So yeah.
So as far as the superstar thing, I know I threw that follow-up question in. You went over
Yes.
they first have to know what it is that you expect them to do.
Yes.
And then I asked you, okay, what is it we expect a treatment coordinator to do? And you got into that a bit.
Correct.
And then I think I distracted you from that. But
You did. But so what I want to see is I want to see the treatment coordinator closing, and when they're not sitting in front of a patient, I want to see them working on that schedule to add sales opportunities to the schedule. Now, how do they add sales opportunities to the schedule? They can work the incomplete treatment list. The incomplete treatment list, 60% of a doctor's charts have outstanding treatment in it. So getting those patients back in for consultations. Don't try to sell treatment over the phone, right? If you couldn't close it in person, you probably are not going to close it over the phone, right? Sometimes you do. Right, but the important thing is to just bring them back in. Like, hi, patient. This is Sabri from ABC Dental, your dental practice. I'm just calling to follow up on that outstanding treatment that you had. The doctor presented 2 crowns last time you were here, and they're probably going to say, "Yeah, I'm still thinking about it." Blah 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 blah. Say, "Okay, well, no, totally understand. It's a big decision." Right? Why don't you come in? Doctor wants to keep an eye on things until you make the decision. Those teeth are cracked, and I assume you're chewing on them. So we just want to make sure everything's stable until you get those crowns. And
now, let's say that patient isn't due for hygiene yet, as an example. What if they are due for hygiene?
Then
Would
you just bring them in for a
back
hygiene
in for hygiene and
appointment.
have the convo when they're here?
Exactly. This is like follow-up treatment in the last 6 months, like maybe a case you presented 3 months ago. They were going to talk to their spouse, and you never heard from them again. Right? So you follow up, you bring them back in.
Okay, so now, again, I'm kind of dialing us back now from where I threw us off track. So now
Yes.
you're saying to make them a superstar, we find out why they're not.
Right.
Okay, so you went back to they don't know their deliverable.
Yes.
So that's the first thing you would make sure they get.
Yeah.
Okay, what are the other things you would attack there?
So they're deliverable, knowing what their day should look like, what they should be doing every day.
Sure.
And of course, they need to be able to close.
Okay.
Right? That's really the last thing. If they do those 2 things and they're sitting in front of patients and they can't close those patients, they're not a salesperson.
Now, let's talk about that last point for just a second.
Sure.
Okay, because we can get into what they're supposed to do all the time. But as far as can they close?
Yes.
Right? Obviously, we do sales training.
Yes.
Like with the MGE Communication and sales seminars.
Yes.
We'll put a link to that on the episode webpage. But what is it you want to see so that you know this person can close?
So usually they would keep a sales log.
Okay.
Your sales log would show you what they are presenting, right, and what the patient accepted. Accepted means they paid for it, like financial arrangements have been made. That's what accepted means. So what am I looking for? I'm looking a third of what they presented, which should be listed in the sales log, have proper financial arrangements. We receive the money, or we have financial arrangements in accordance with the financial policy of the practice.
Okay.
That's all.
Fair enough. So then if I want to increase the performance of my treatment coordinator, make sure they really hone in on the deliverable.
Yeah.
I want to make sure they really know what they should be doing on it. Because I guess some of them could kind of get the idea, well, I'm just supposed to help the doctor present treatment.
Right, but treatment coordinators are not helpers,
No,
right?
what I'm saying is so what am I doing when I'm not doing that? I need to be aware of that fully.
Correct.
Like what the whole job is. And then lastly, I have to be comfortable closing people.
Absolutely.
Okay. So now, how does having the right or wrong or ideal candidate factor into this?
Well, when you're hiring somebody to do this, you may have somebody that can do those three things, but they're just not a good fit for your team.
Like, give me an example.
Well, let's say somebody who just, let's say I have somebody that really likes gossiping, right, and stirs the pot with the staff all the time. That action is so destructive that their value of being able to close starts to diminish.
What if it's really good gossip? Sorry. No,
Listen.
never mind. We'll cut that part out, which probably won't be cut out. Never mind. Whatever.
Okay.
Go ahead. No, I get it.
You get it? There are certain people that are just not good with working in teams. Like they don't work well with they don't play well with other kids in the sandbox.
Got it.
Right? And keep stealing their toys and things like that. And you as the owner constantly have to go handle people because they're upset. Like
Fair.
If you can't sort that out, then that person's just not a good fit with your team. Now you have to be careful there, right? Because treatment coordinators, they're salespeople, they're closers. Right? Which salespeople and closers sometimes are a little bit more forward, right? And they have to be. They have to be a little bit more forward. If you have staff that don't let's say I have a schedule coordinator, and the treatment coordinator is upset with the schedule coordinator continuously because the schedule coordinator isn't doing anything to contribute getting outstanding treatment on the schedule, leaving and not doing their job. And now the treatment coordinator is upset because they feel a little bit sabotaged by somebody else in your organization not doing their job, right? You can say, well, the treatment coordinator is starting trouble. Well, they're actually not. So you do have to investigate this a little bit, like who really needs to be corrected here.
Okay.
It's a nice way of saying it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And then what about, so let's say I'm picking up that candidate and I don't have anybody internal. Like I don't have an assistant who helps out in a pinch or whatever. We're looking for the right candidate. How important is it that they're very communicative? Is that kind of a factor you'd be looking for? Or?
Well, yeah, they're selling, which is essentially communication.
All right, so I don't want somebody who's can't look at me and looks at the floor the whole time.
No, you want somebody, but truthfully, if you really explain the treatment to the patient, why they need it, what the ramifications are of not doing it, and this is a health-related matter, right? If the communication is good, the patient's always going to want to do it.
Sure.
Right? Then it's just a matter of how. How do we figure out finances so that the patient can afford it? Right? So the communication skills are the most important thing. Sales isn't anything other than communication, being able to communicate well.
Right.
Right? So they need to have excellent communication skills, and they need to be able to tell people what to do.
Good point.
Right? They need to be able to say, now it's time for you to pay.
Yeah, I guess you could say it similarly with a scheduler.
Absolutely.
These schedulers that go, well, people have to decide when they want to come in. Well, that's a bad scheduler.
Well, here's the thing. People, the things that you're asking them to do are probably not on the top of the patient's my favorite things to do list.
Sure.
Right? So sometimes you do have to tell them, okay, now it's time for you to come in. Now it's time for you to pay. Now it's time for you to sit in that chair and open your mouth. Right? And of course, this is done nicely, but they have to be able to tell people what to do.
Fair enough.
And that's really the minimum requirements for a treatment coordinator.
All right, so those are my basics.
Yeah, they have to be also, and then on top of it, you want somebody that's friendly, right? Sometimes you can say that people that are antagonistic, right? You meet those people, they're very antagonistic and very forward, and I always tell the truth, like those kinds of people.
Yeah, be blunt.
Yeah, right, those people, they have quote-unquote great communication skills, and they quote unquote have no problem telling people what to do, but they're actually just upsetting people because they're not really communicating. They're just talking, right? They're not seeing what's happening on the other end of their communication. They're not seeing the way that if the patient is actually responding to and receiving their communication properly.
Yeah, my favorite also are, the people who are great, I'm using air quotes, communicators, but like you can never get a word in edgewise.
Right.
Like you go hi, and then they just keep talking for the next hour.
Right.
And then if you were to ask them, hey, are you a good communicator? Oh, I'm the best. Like you just are hoping the conversation, like that's probably not a good person.
No, so communication is very different from talking.
Got it.
Right?
Okay.
So.
All right, then as far as organizationally, are there any things that you'd recommend, like some simple things that you could recommend to the listeners that they could do to encourage higher levels of performance with their treatment coordinators?
Yeah, and it's a good question. Usually, and we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, usually treatment coordinators or salespeople are very incentive-based people, good and they're very production-oriented people.
Sure.
Right? So there's people who are producers. They're thinking with what is my deliverable, and then there's people that are helpers, like how can I help you become more productive, right? It's a different mindset. So people that are good treatment coordinators have that mindset of my production. What am I doing? That how much money, like quantifiable products that they deliver, right?
What stat would you give them, by the way?
Income.
So just overall office
Total
income.
collections. That's always the stat of a salesperson or treatment coordinator.
So you say incentives.
Yeah, so they can have bonus structures, right? You can play games with them, right? So playing games with them and I do this with the treatment coordinators that I work with. I always play games with them. Like if you in the next 6 months, right, make this much money for the organization, what do you want? And one of them wanted a trip. It's like, okay, fine. This is how much I'll allocate for your trip, and I'll give you an extra week off. Like, you can make games. You have to understand, sales people and executives are our highest paid individuals, also entrepreneurs.
In most companies, yeah.
In most companies, and those are the people that make the money. Why do they make money? Well, because it's such a high pressure job, right? So we compensate them well, we keep them happy, and they keep producing for us. They are our racehorse, and we take very good care of them, and we keep them happy and producing.
And what do you think, because I know I've been asked by this, you've probably been asked the same thing by a number of clients, because obviously with this, since we're saying this person's a salesperson.
Yes.
Obviously, which really, you could say this concept holds in all sales, but I don't know that it's necessarily practice, but you don't want your salespeople selling stuff people don't need.
Of course not.
It's even more important in healthcare.
Yes.
That's right. So obviously they're selling things that have been diagnosed that's needed treatment to restore patients' health function and aesthetic, right? Okay, fine. What do you think about putting, this is my indirect way to get to the question, having some type of just a standardized commission system for a treatment coordinator?
You can absolutely do that.
Because you do that for salespeople.
Yeah, you can pay them their base up to viability of the practice. Like, this is my break-even point, and when I have my break-even point, reach it, and I have enough money to pay the bills and fund my reserves, right, and my taxes and all the things that should be part of break-even, right? I'll pay you standard salary for that. You go above that, and I'll give you a small percentage of anything above that. Like, you can give them games like that.
It doesn't have to
incentive.
be huge, but that's like a big deal, because then you want them, maybe if they're, that gives them the motivation to, let's close that last deal before the end of the month, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Okay, good.
That's exactly right. And then,
excuse me.
You and I were talking a little bit before the podcast, obviously, because we know each other very well.
We're not supposed to talk before the podcast, because it's supposed to be a cold interview. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, I know. You're not supposed to tell anybody we do that. I'm kidding.
One of the things that you brought up that I really do want to mention is, there's human beings, and it's a very small percentage of the human race that are just not happy and nice human beings.
Yeah, I think I brought this up, like the toxic type personality.
Correct.
We've covered that in a couple episodes. We definitely get into it in MGE Communication Sales Seminar A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's definitely the game of that person, the person who's like, we can call him the unhappy
whatever, just call him a toxic person.
Okay, the toxic
personality.
Yeah, the game of the toxic personality is not to be handled on buying their treatment and getting better.
No, it's to mess up your treatment coordinator.
It's to introvert the person that they're talking to, right? That's the game of that they try to introvert the person. Now, when you introvert a person by making nasty comments,
Sure.
Right? Like, well, I don't like the way you're talking to me.
Or you only seem to be interested in my pocketbook. Or,
Yeah, like those introverting, nasty
Yeah.
comments.
Sure.
Right? Then sometimes stay with a salesperson and they change the way they present treatment afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
Because they put that that nastiness that they just experienced on all people.
Well, that's a great point, because
Yeah.
you see that like I'm doing great, closing, enjoying
Yeah.
my job.
Yeah.
Then I hit that one nasty patient,
Yeah.
and they make me wrong. And people have to understand that there's certain types of patients coming into your practice that would, object to feeding starving puppies or babies. Like
Yes.
they're that kind of person.
Yes.
It's just a numbers thing. There are
Yeah.
certain small percentage of populace like this. That's just the way they are. Right.
Right.
So they're going to come in there and they're going to be nasty to your treatment coordinator. Well, it's interesting. You guys only seem interested in my money.
Yes.
Blah, 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 blah. And the treatment coordinator, or wow, I feel like you're really playing a lot. You're really pressuring me into doing this. And,
Right.
and the treatment coordinator's thinking, well, this is how I talk to everybody.
Right.
So then they think, oh my gosh, I shouldn't talk to patients this way.
Does everybody feel
Does
like
everybody
this?
feel like this? Maybe they're just not saying it. The
Yeah.
person may even say that, I'm really honest, so most people won't tell you this, but you're applying way too much pressure, and this
Yeah.
is making me very uncomfortable, and I
Yeah.
bet you all your patients feel this way, but they just don't tell you. And so then they think, this is how all my patients feel. And then
Yes.
they stop selling.
That's right. So you have to be there for your treatment coordinator, even if only a small percentage of the population is like this.
Yeah.
They are going to run into people like this. It's inevitable.
Right, then they crash and burn, so you got to keep an eye on them to make sure that they don't stay crashed and burned.
Right, and you have to talk to them. What happened?
Sure.
Right, and you have to understand people are not always just going to come out and say, well, this person said I was applying too much pressure or something like that.
Right.
Because maybe they feel embarrassed about it.
Sure.
Right? Maybe they're thinking, well, maybe I do that, and maybe I do a bad job or whatever. Like, understand that the game was to introvert them. And if your treatment coordinator stopped selling, then that is exactly what happened. They are now introverted, which means they're not communicating well.
Well, and they're not
With
doing what they
you-
were doing before that was working.
Yeah, but not with you either.
Right.
Right? So sometimes you have to kind of coax it out of them a little bit. Like, what happened? It seems like you were selling well over here. And, like, who did you present cases to? Did somebody try to introvert you? Was somebody nasty? And it's good to have your treatment coordinator trained on this so they can see it when it happens and have a little bit more of a,
Proactive.
yeah, proactive, but also a little bit more less serious attitude on this. Like they can smile at it a little bit when it's happening, because they know exactly what's sitting in front of them, and they know that this human being does this to everybody,
Right.
and it's just an unhappy human being.
Yeah, that's interesting. You bring that up only because that's something you do have to keep an eye on. And if
Yes.
they don't, you'll have somebody who's this great performer, and then all of a sudden they're not performing anymore.
Right, and you don't know why.
Right.
Right, and the more people they run into like this, if they're not trained on that, and you're not keeping an eye on it, the worse it's going to become. It's going to stack up, and the harder it's going to be to handle it.
Right, and on top of that, though, on the flip side,
Yes.
the good side of this
Yes.
is the better and better they do for the longer and longer time,
Yes, the more confident they
the more
become.
confident they become,
Right.
and the better it becomes.
Yes, it's very interesting, because very often when I have clients that run into people like this and they stop selling, right? And we kind of identify who they ran into. A great handling for this is they get very focused on, okay, now I have to go make money, because usually they're a little bit behind the eight ball at this point.
Sure.
When somebody's trying to make money, they no longer make money.
Sure.
Right? Because the purpose isn't money.
That's not why the patients are there.
No, your purpose is to help people.
Right.
So keep your treatment coordinator focused on helping people. And don't be concerned about, we calling it a salesperson, are they going to sell stuff that isn't, that patients don't need or whatever. That is completely controlled by you, the doctor.
Yeah, you're
Because
the one
the treatment
diagnosing
coordinator,
it.
the treatment coordinator can't sell anything you haven't diagnosed.
Right.
So don't worry about
Makes
that.
life easy.
Yes.
And it's interesting because this position, you could say this about a lot of the positions in the practice. I think that has not been, especially as we're moving into an era where more and more offices want to go fee for service.
Yeah.
So obviously, if I'm a practice that's going fee for service, my patients, if I'm going to demand that premium, are probably expecting a higher level of quality or customer service
Right.
than if they're going to the HMO office down
Sure.
the street. So, if you want to do that, you're going to have the staff that match up. And
Yes.
it isn't just finding the right person.
Yeah.
It's finding that right person and really training that right person.
Correct.
And yeah, there's a certain amount of training you want for all of your staff.
Yeah.
Which, clients on the Power Program do.
Yeah.
There's my shameless plug. Put the link to that on the episode webpage as well.
Yeah.
But with the treatment coordinator, it's even more because there's so much patient interaction.
There is.
And the more I was thinking about this as you were just talking, what I'll do, I'm gonna do a huge link dump on this episode webpage because we've got the communication sales seminars. We'll put a link to that.
Yeah.
We'll put a link to the Power Program, but also we do a whole treatment coordinator training program.
Yes.
Which you can find out more about. I'll put that link in the Power Program link. But then there's treatment coordinator training that Sabri did actually on our online platform, DDS Success. I'll put a link to that as well. There's a lot to know.
There is. It's a big job.
And the longer they do it well, the better they're going to get at it.
Exactly. And some people are naturally good at it,
Sure.
but that's such a small percentage of the population again, right? But everybody else has to learn. But it's a job. You can learn how to do this.
No, this is cool. This is very cool. Sabri, thank you so much for coming on this week.
You are welcome.
Folks, I do hope this helped a lot. There's definitely a lot to know about this. And like I said, there's a ton of links on the episode webpage if you want to check them out. Again, Sabri, thank you.
You're welcome.
And folks, if you want to know more about MGE, you can find us online at mgeonline.com or call us at 800-640-1140. Have a great week, and we will see you at the next episode.